Hi, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Justin Leopard with Consordini.com, here today with another cello lesson for you guys. Today we're going to talk about vibrato. So vibrato, you've heard in recordings, it's beautiful. It's this little shake that they do, and it just makes it so much more emotional, right? So how do we do this shake? Well, first of all, I want to dispel a notion that the vibrato is a totally symmetrical figure, which it may look like, but we don't want you to be rocking your hand. And there's a very obvious reason for that, which is if you start rocking your hand, intonation is going to go out the window. And also, the vibrato is not going to serve its functional purpose, apart from just sounding nice, the shake. It actually makes the instrument louder, making it more resonant. And I'm going to show you how a little later in this video. So what's the way that we do vibrato? Well, the way that we do vibrato is that we angle the finger a little bit more, first of all, and there's this upper limit. We're never going to move past this upper limit. We're never going to go sharper than the note that we're vibratoing either. So if that's our note, we're not going to... That just kind of sounds like I turned on some weird thing with synth patch. It doesn't really sound like vibrato, right? So if that's our note, then we're never going to vibrato above it. We're just going to come down below it and come into it. And it's not necessarily that even of a gesture either. It's one where the impetus to come in, we actually come into the string with our finger more at the top of the vibrato than the bottom of the vibrato. So would be the slow motion, where we're really coming into the top of the note and we're lightening the finger when we're at the lower part of the note. And the whole motion basically comes from the whole arm. I think I've heard people talk about knocking. It is pretty similar to that, like knocking on a door, that sort of motion. The way you get started, because we want the vibrato to be even. We don't want... We want it to be even. That's how we're going to get that beautiful vibrato sound. So one way you can practice this is to get a metronome out, to turn it on to a certain tempo. And whatever the tempo is, say you're like 60 beats per minute, so you have like a second. So within that second, try doing, a vibrato, and then as you get comfortable with the motion, going to 2 vibratos. I'll show you what I mean. So find your note first. And by the way, the note that I'm on right now is A. It's in 4th position, which we'll talk about in our positions video. And I just like this for demonstrating vibrato because compared to 1st position, where the arm is quite together, this is going to be a lot more natural feeling for the elbow. So this is kind of a nice place to start. And so if we have a clicked, and don't also do this with the bow. We're not trying to do that. Just nice, normal bow stroke, but with the finger do that. And then paying attention to the elbow, not going higher pitched than the note itself, coming down and coming into the note, then go up to 2. And then you can go up to 4. So at this point, the way that I've been doing it, really coming into the note, really hammering it, has been an exaggeration of what you will actually end up doing with vibrato, but it is important to just train yourself to be thinking in that sort of mentality. So I think it's very important. There are some very aggressive vibratos you might do sometimes that may not even be that exaggeration of that. It just depends on the context that you're playing in. So as you start to get comfortable with the motion because of that, relax into it and allow it to be a little bit more of the rocking that you have seen in videos. but you can still hear how it goes into that note. You can still hear how it's very even, and I could count the number of vibratos per the measure. Vibrato is a very, very expressive tool. And one of the things that happens when we come into that is that it actually increases the resonance of the instrument, especially when I'm already on a note that is a resonant frequency A, because the open A string. Compare, I'm not going to change the bow. Compare the flat tone. I haven't changed the bow, but the vibrato makes it so much louder. How? It's incredible. Well, it's because it's engaging the instrument's resonance. So this is a very, very cool thing about vibrato. It can be used to enhance melodies. It can just be used to make a note more beautiful, but it also makes the instrument itself louder and richer. So the other thing that you'd want to practice is how to do vibrato on the different fingers. Some people teach that this is very bad. Don't just put one finger down. If you're on the first finger, you just have that. If you're on the second finger, also have your first finger down. Same if you have your third, have all three down. And 4, you have all 4 down. When we have our hand up against the cello, in all of these positions up until 4th position, the thumb's gonna be behind the second finger. So be keeping that in mind, that you don't wanna mess that up. Even when you do vibrato on your first finger, it will be easier to bring it up a little bit, but still have that mentality that it's behind the second finger. And this is going to allow you to do your different fingers for the vibrato. And then if you're trying to change notes, you can kind of time the vibrato so that you're not like mid vibrato when you change, but rather this is slow motion. Right? You can just try to connect it really. And it can just help you phrase because every note can have a little bit of a different width. That's how, far you're moving your hand to the vibrato, a different speed to the vibrato. And these things really start to color the music. And there's no one right way to do it. There's just the way that sounds right in the appropriate musical context. So with these exercises with the metronome, you're going to be able to start practicing vibrato, start practicing how to get that basic vibrato with the first finger, translating to different fingers, and translating it between fingers as you're playing. Just use the build-up progression. And this has been a production with Consordini.com. I'm Justin Leppard. You can check out my playing at Justin Leppard Cello. We really appreciate you watching this video and welcome any comments you have about vibrato or cello down below. We will get to them. We really appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time.